welcome back. Really, welcome to the very first. It is the first session of 2025. Wow. 25 years ago was the year 2000. That's weird, huh? Hmm. Yeah. So let's see. We're just talking. The weather's cold because it's winter. It's warm a little bit down here in Florida, but it's not really hot. It's kind of cool. Golf's yesterday. Lots of football going on. The year's over, so now we're pumping for 2025. But this is kind of a dead week, sort of, kind of. But I'm
That
trying to
half
get
a
to
month.
be. Yeah, actually, it is dead. But these 2 weeks, a lot gets done during these 2 weeks, at least behind the scenes. You guys can add to that. What else is going on? Well, there's some bad things going on. We won't talk about that. But in the industry, didn't something big happen this week or not? No, that Xerox thing was
The
two
week
weeks ago.
before.
Yeah.
Week before. However, I did post I've got a survey on my site
Right.
with 10 questions, and it's actually up to 66 responses.
That's pretty good.
So I'm hoping to get 100 responses. By the time I get the 100 responses, I'm going to plug it into AI, and I'm going to tell it to just give me your thoughts on all of these different answers on these 10 questions. And I think it's going to be amazing what it comes out with.
It will be cool. Yeah. Things kind of settled down on that front, but it's going to get big here. I think robotics is going to be the next big wave. I saw a couple things come up in the last couple of days, especially for 2025. But we'll see. We'll see. Let's see.
So maybe we can hear Earl's thoughts on this, right?
I would love to hear Earl. How's it going in Chicago?
It's good, man. It's good. No complaints. No complaints. Thoughts on what the Lexmark Xerox?
Yeah.
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, the Lexmark products are okay. I really don't know what's going to happen with this whole acquisition. I know Xerox, they're going to hold the conference call in the next couple weeks about it, but other than that, I don't know. Because I think there's other manufacturers that utilize Lexmark, right, as a rebranding product. Doesn't like Konica or who else? I thought there was another manufacturer out there.
It might be Toshiba, because Toshiba has a good relationship with Lexmark. Might also be Sharp.
Okay, maybe Sharp. Yeah.
There probably could be one more as well for their A4s. It's basically their A4 devices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Earl, did you ever run into them competitively?
Not really. No. They were kind of quiet here in Chicago from what I've seen, but their products, their new A4 devices are a little awkward. They are. I mean, just from a end user standpoint, to remove the paper from the output tray is a little awkward. To replace toner, it's just, I'm not a big fan.
Who, Xerox or
Lexmark?
Lexmark.
Okay.
Yeah. So we kind of shy away from the product, to be honest, just because I just don't like it. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
So,
well, go ahead.
Go ahead. So what do you think about this? What do you think about Lexmark has their own Lexmark developed A3s, right? And then Xerox is fighting a battle now with Fujifilm making their inroads to the US marketplace. Marco taking on the Fujifilm production machines. Could Xerox replace their A3s with Lexmarks?
God, I hope not. I mean, we struggle with the Xerox product, to be honest.
Well, how about if it was just the print engine and all that, all the software and the GUI were the same that you're used to with the Xerox?
So here's my question, Art. On Xerox, they take a Fuji device, right? And they put this this fancy front end unit, you know, for the front display on it. It takes forever for a product to boot up, right? To do firmware, it's a pain in the butt, you know. And I would think in the year of 2025, why do we still have so many issues with copiers? From a service side, you know, we're always struggling with quality issues. We're always struggling with products reaching, you know, the full yield capacity. When I say drums and developer units and so forth, why does our industry still struggle with that? I mean, seriously, because I came from the service side. I know, Art, I think you came from the service side as well, right?
Yeah.
And when I bring on a product for our dealership, I look at that and I'm like, why do we still have service calls for these issues? I just don't get it. It's so frustrating because every time we send a tech out, it's costing us money. And now we have drums that go out prematurely. They never go full life. And, you know, we reach out to the manufacturer and like, what's the deal? And guess what? We're the only dealership in the world that run into these issues. Every single time. If it's a drum, the gear unit assembly is breaking on the back, we call tech support. Have you guys ever seen this? No?
That's on the cue card. The cue card next to the guy answering.
That's
gal
taped to every
answering the
monitor.
phone.
It's like, no,
So I question, I'm like, you're telling me
No, we've never seen it before.
we
Never.
are the lucky ones that got the batch of serial numbers that end with 10 whatever for every freaking issue.
That was made on a Friday evening, right before
Yeah.
the holiday in Japan.
It's like, how does this happen? I'm like, we're talking copiers. We're putting toner on paper and baking it on, but we still can't make a reliable product to work for us. And you know, all the products out there are pretty much oversold, right?
Oh yeah, they're all oversold.
I don't know. I'm just going on a little tangent. I'm sorry, guys. You go ahead, do your thing. I'm just those things just fire me up.
You're giving me delayed stress. When you were going off a little bit on the Lexmark thing, I was getting deja vu. It's like, wait a minute, I remember that from 10 years ago. I remember the toner cartridge or the serviceability of certain units was not easy. The drums and the life of those parts were never right.
Never.
They're always over. You know, it should last 10,000 and it'll last 3. It should last 150. And it's so funny you say, well, we've never seen this before. And this is, you brought up Edgeline, and I'm going to get real delayed stress because, yeah, we've never seen the, what were those things, those dang things called? Those cartridges crack like, heads. The print heads would crack. It's like, how the hell did it? Well, we've never seen it before. Find out they're everywhere. All of them cracked. And, you know, then but so your story, unfortunately, the biggest question you have is why? Why is that still happening? That's a good question. You think, Art, now, I think you and I have had this conversation and we'll get into the ugly side, but the built-in obsolescence model?
Planned obsolescence, one. I think more, the factories, right? I think I'm the only one here that's been to a factory in Japan.
I have not. So yes, go on.
So I was amazed at all of the parts that did not come from Rico. Right?
Well, what do you mean? They came from some other place.
Boards,
sub-assemblies.
Boards, sub-assemblies, finishers. Who knows about drums? I mean, I look at these copier manufacturers. Yeah, they have the technology, but what they do is they're more like Ford, right? When Ford was building a Model T, they got all of their tires and their parts and all this other stuff for the Model T from a bunch of different distributors. They engineered and designed it and had the technology and the software, and then they put all those parts together, pretty much like the Model T. It goes through an assembly line, and you got, you know, mostly when I was there 20 years ago, there were girls, right? Or women, and they were actually, they had a bin of parts and would move the main frame from one part to another part and start building the system. While I was at the factory, I didn't see any places where they would like manufacture the frames or manufacture the drums. So, I mean, that's my, so who knows what type of parts they're getting that was made by somebody else that could be causing an issue. That's what I would lean to.
Here's something else too, and tell me if I'm crazy, but I think about this. Just like if you go to an Apple store, right, and you go to buy a new Apple phone, there's really only like 2 or 3 versions, right? There's the Max, there's a regular size, and the Pro or whatever. What if we just had one A3 device and one A4 device and master that device, you know, and eliminate all the service issues, because we try to offer so much as a manufacturer, and we just water down, I think, our quality of a product. You know, like I love my F-150. You know, it's a proven product. You know, they just get better every year, but it's a proven product. Why
Right.
don't we have that in the industry where we have a 45 ppm device and we know it's going to work day after day, month after month, year after year. And here's your A4 MFP, Mr. Customer. It's a proven product. Boom, be done.
And you can change the speeds. A dealer can change the speeds at will, right? Or how about just, yeah, one A3 and one A4, and then you can also make it color or just keep it black and white.
Limit the choices, or streamline the product line. You know,
How
how
much
many
better-
SKUs do you have? You got
how
like
mu-
thousands.
Right. How much better would it be for the manufacturers, right? How much better would it be for the dealers? Because there's really only 2 engines to troubleshoot.
There's always, yeah.
Why
yeah.
can't, I mean, it's better than
Yeah.
me having 50 engines and making 50 engines work correctly than having 2 engines and have them overachieve.
Why don't we have like Maytag repairmen here? You know, Maytag is always, put their hat on the nail of like, Maytag. You never see the service tech. Buy a copier. You're going to see us every day. It's crazy. It's like, why do these things break down all the time? Anyway, it's costly to a dealership, any dealership, we
Well, I
should.
think you've kind of run into the issue. The multiple SKUs and multiple models, it's all marketing, and that only benefits the OEM. The fact that the service challenges doesn't fall on the OEM, it falls on the dealer channel. That's a cost that they don't have to really accrue, because it's out of their warehouse, out of their hair. It's no longer a cost, an inventory cost, or anything. If they overestimate the lifetime and you're making pricing based on the dealer is, that's the cost figure, they're only increasing the customers that they have, the dealer or the OEMs, because they know they're going to sell more drums or whatever. There could be it could be a huge economic model that has always been in place and always will be. And as the curve, as we're hitting the other side of the bell curve, it doesn't matter. We might have had this conversation before. Once it's offshore and on a ship somewhere, it's no longer their cost. It's ours now. It's the dealer cost, and they don't need to care about it. And same with the marketing. I mean, if you have 13 different SKUs and your competitor has 6, in theory, your sales staff can offer the customer more options, more. So you're arguing, instead of having Coke, you got Coke Cherry, Coke, thousands of them. You're going to get it. It's a marketing position. Maybe they won't get my high end or my low end, but they're going to look at my middle, and they're not going to look at the other guy that's only got 3 models.
I think you'll see as the print continues to decline in this space, you'll see manufacturers changing always what they've done in the past to something new.
Well, there's also, we're talking about what's good for the customer. We're not talking about what's good for the customer.
That's how the manufacturers think right now.
Yeah.
What's good for, it's more about what's good for them.
It's
So
always, this industry's always been that way.
John's was with a manufacturer for 20 years. I'd love to hear his thoughts.
Oh,
Because he probably heard a lot of inside chatter.
Well, inside chatter. I was very low on that totem pole of reps. So yeah, so when I started as a tech with a dealership in Pennsylvania, big, very large dealership, multi-states. Number one, servicing machines, analog machines back then took a hell of a lot more time than it does today.
Right.
On a cost basis for my time, it was the high end, like a quote unquote high end machines that Ricoh had on color. Their PM cycle was 4 hours, 5 hours. You would never spend that much time on a machine today, never. Even the big production machines now aren't that. You're swapping out components. They build them to reduce your labor cost, not to make cheap parts. It's because your biggest cost, Earl, you said that the biggest cost is sending somebody out on a call, right? You don't want to send somebody out on a call. You want the machine to run forever. So number one, it's cheaper nowadays, I think, because the components are swapped out, not the assemblies are swapped out, not the components. Right. So I worked for that dealership for 10 years, and that's from the analog to the digital transformation. I did that. Then I worked for Canon for 3 years, Canon Direct in Pittsburgh. And I got to tell you, the support we got from Ricoh as a Ricoh dealer was far superior than the support we got from Canon as a Canon branch.
Wow.
And I think that is still true today. I think because what are you going to do? If I'm Canon and I have a finite number of support staff I can send out for issues, I'm going to take care of the dealers first because they can just leave. If I'm, at a branch, where else are you going to go? Yeah. They can't just change manufacturers. So it was unbelievably difficult to get support from Canon as a Canon branch, CBS, and it was I gotta say that was awful. It was an awful experience. So when I moved from there to Ricoh Corporation and worked for them for 15 years, I only worked at the dealer channel, so I was providing support to the dealers, and and I knew what good support looked like. I knew what bad support looked like, so I was always trying to be good. But anyway, I don't know if that was it always made. I'm trying to think of some insights I gleaned from working at Ricoh. You got to keep the factories running, because the only reason you build copiers is to sell them food, which was toner.
Right. Because
all your profitability came from toner and parts. We're another good profit center. So, you try to make at least break even on the hardware. Might make a little bit on the hardware, but really your profitability the thing that kept the lights on was toner. So get the machines out there, make as many different kinds of toner cartridges there is. Even if you're working with one line, the lower machines take one kind of toner. It's the same toner, it's just a different cartridge. The bigger machines take a bigger cartridge, but you have to stock both. Customer has to stock both. That's the profitability part.
Sure.
So, so I don't know. I think it would be easier to have, one frame to get to know and use. But from a marketing perspective, people want to buy something new when they buy new machines. They want the latest fancy gadgets. Yeah. And it's hard to sell the same thing over and over again. Ask Art. He did it really well. When Ricoh would never update their wide format, when Ricoh's wide format lasted 6, 7, 8 years, and it was a still new product.
8 years we're going on.
Hard to sell.
Well,
That is tough to sell.
Ose, right? I
Yeah,
mean, those, they're metal beasts. That
they are
3100
beasts.
would print 1 million a month and still keep printing. Was analog, but it could keep printing. But I forget what they were, 3165s or whatever they were, 65 pages.
2475.
Man,
Hey, James.
Hey,
James. Yeah, they were, they're gone now because you'd sell one every 8 years or whatever it was.
I have Konica Minolta production equipment out there on the monochrome side that the customer, by the time it's replenished, a new model comes out, they've leased the same machine 3 consecutive times, not leaving the same machine, but have a commercial printer that does 1 million impressions a month on their monochromes. They have 4 of them. They go on 3-year leases, and before a new product comes out, I'll pick those up, put another one out there on a 3-year lease. They'll go through the same model 2 to 3 times before it's replenished in the product line. That's a hard sell.
Yes.
So even though there's a new product, your customer's not renewing. Is that
No, it took 6 to 9 years before Konica Minolta replenishes the monochrome line. And if you get down to it, even in the production side for color, and you can look at any manufacturer. I'm just more familiar because I've worked direct for Konica Minolta, and in the dealer channel, the 3 series to the 4 series, that's the same machine. They can sugarcoat it however they want. We went through with the toner explosion that happened at the Konica Minolta plant. Customers that were running out of toner, and we found that the chemical composition, just like you talked about, was 3 generations old. We were blowing caps off current models and pouring toner in to keep customers up and running. So there isn't a lot that changes in the equipment. But, I'm going to digress on how many SKUs we have. Being on the sales side my whole career, a lot of that's generated by us as salespeople and sales and marketing, not only from selling more toner, but you'll often hear in conversation with sales reps, especially on government enterprise bids, spec beaters. And it's all based on a machine. Give me a 25, 35, 45 page a minute of a product with 4 different price points, so I can go in with something that a competitor won't have to beat a spec. So all of a sudden you have the number of models expands, because as salespeople, we start complaining, hey, I don't have a 42 page a minute version of this, and my competitors do, so I can't meet spec.
Good point.
But if you look at what Canon has done with like the Titan series with rechipping or having updates that can change the speed of the equipment, I mean, maybe that's not too out of line with the fleet stuff.
Interesting.
Why have 5 SKU numbers when you could do an update that'll allow? I know Konica Minolta, when I went to the plant in Japan there, I learned something new, that the production side, the 60, 70, and 80 page a minute color machines were really the same speed. The difference was the gap between the sheets of paper as it came through the press.
Yep, they were able to adjust that with the software.
Yeah, I mean, so at the end with that, could there have just been one product? And if you want to pay to update it in speed, here's the firmware update, because that's all it's really going to be. And automatically you reduce the SKU numbers.
No, it's great. I think that's what the market should go to at some point in time, but hopefully it will be before copiers are a thing of the past, like typewriters.
Nobody wants a faster typewriter.
Hey, so can AI really help dealers? Does anybody know any dealers that are using AI for their maintenance yet? I mean, I don't know of anybody.
we're behind the scenes. We've been told we have a quarterly town hall conversation with senior leadership,
Right.
and we've been told that our service and IT department are working together now on on developing something. And they didn't go into a lot of they didn't share all the details, but in helping dealing with parts management, the amount of car stock, etc., needed, and the deployment of service techs, that something's being worked on behind the scenes. There were no intentions of giving sales direct access to anything AI that was, on the horizon,
Right.
but there was definitely something coming for the service department in the near future.
So, John, wasn't it years ago that Rico was was toying with some artificial intelligence 5 years ago for maintenance on these machines, and then I pretty much didn't hear anything on it since then.
No,
That was
I think
somebody's name or something,
I remember that. It was a service program where
Earl
the
or something like
machines,
that.
what's that?
I'm just trying to remember the name of the
Yeah, the
soft.
name,
I think it
the
was made by
proper name.
IBM. Watson.
Oh,
No.
yeah. Was
They had a thing with Watson.
With Watson.
Yes.
Well, yeah, Rico worked with a couple different things with Watson, but I think on the service side, it was supposed to be some kind of artificial intelligent way of predicting when components would fail based on a whole bunch of different inputs.
That was it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it took, I don't know how many, because the machines with Ricos are able to kind of report back, meter reads and toner levels and stuff like that to Rico. They were going to have it report back more service related, temperature, humidity, volume, paper type, paper, the stiffness of paper would matter, how the GSM would matter, the size, all that stuff was supposed to be put into this great big hopper, and AI was supposed to look at it and determine when components would fail. And other than that first initial, hype, I never heard anything about it specifically again. And maybe it is behind the scenes, but I would be shouting that from the, from the treetops if it actually worked. So I don't know. Probably just another marketing thing.
Well, back then I'm sure it was. It's just a big, huge spreadsheet.
I've got something up on the web, but I can't find
Tivoli. What was the Rico IBM
Tivoli.
did do some Tivoli or something like
Tivoli
that.
was a
That was something different though, wasn't it?
I think it was. I'm not exactly sure. I thought it was some kind of a database that Rico used.
Yeah.
For fleet management, maybe.
Is it ConnectWise or Kaseya? Kaseya jumped on. Was it Kaseya or ConnectWise jumped on it 2.5 years ago? Really, and I think they may have even worked with OpenAI.
Yeah. I don't know.
So there was something going on with them, and I think they just had their show. But again, it's like, yeah, I don't hear that much about it anymore. There was a big splash because someone we know is over there now. I think it's Kaseya. Anyway, yeah, I mean, that seems like it'd be a good fit for AI, right? Predictive stuff.
You would think.
7 years ago.
7 years ago.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And what was it called?
IBM and Rico launched first Watson powered interactive.
Huh.
One was
far, didn't it?
Where they were working with the displays.
Now that I remember. That was at one of the national shows. They had a secret room in the back where you could be invited, and it was real-time language translation with our boards. So the whiteboards would listen to the speech, translate in real time from any language to any language, even multiple languages, and it would be all board. You could control the whole board. So I would say red pen, trace, circle here, and you would draw it, and it would in the right color, and then translate it into text on other boards in the room. it was really cool. But, you know, again, that was the only time I ever saw it, and nothing ever came of it after that. So
Crap, it was 2009 art, Rico and Tivoli.
really,
2009.
wow. I mean, they had some good ideas, but I don't know. I don't know.
Nothing
So
happened.
Earl, would AI on the maintenance end, would that help out a dealership?
Is that to me, or did you say me?
That was you, yeah. Or
Yeah, that was you, Earl. I'm sorry.
Could it? I would think so. I mean, once you build that knowledge base up, I would think it could be helpful. I just wish the manufacturers had some type of database they could fall to.
they probably
s-
do.
I've, since you have, it seems like now and then you have a tough time sometimes with, you know, your maintenance provider. Have you used ChatGPT at all for just plugging in questions that you would have given to the rep at Xerox, you know, the support team? Have you tried that at all?
See, like Xerox, you know, you call Xerox, you go to India, and then you struggle for a little bit on a call,
Yeah.
and then they put you back through to someone here in the States to kind of help you to kind of do that tech level 1 support. But I don't know. I mean, service is just a very frustrating part of
New visitor.
the business. Just very frustrating on my side. It shouldn't be that difficult, you know, like selling copiers isn't very difficult, but we make it difficult. Servicing copiers, it's not that, just like John was saying, everything is a module unit now. It's not like back in the day with Savin and Rico, you had to rebuild fusers and, you know, polish
Developers.
inside, you know, just everything. But now it's not like that. But even back in the day, John, when Canon had that amorphous silicone drum, right? That thing had like a lifespan of, I don't know, 2 million pages or
It
something.
lasted forever.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. That was amazing. I worked on those for the longest time, and those drums were just indestructible. I mean, as long as you didn't drop them,
Right.
they would
Right.
last. They would make a million copies easy.
So
And
where
this
does
was
that
on-
technology go? It's almost like we're stuck with HP drum technology where after you replace the toner cartridge, you replace the drum unit too, you know?
Yep.
It's silly, like
All
we're
in one.
going backwards.
It's
I don't know.
probably all moved to production, and they took it out of SMB A3 devices because it does
don't
come
know. I
down
mean,
to planned obsolescence.
I'm getting a big feeling that most of these things you guys were talking about technically, you know, tech hardware wise, really taking a back seat to marketing. Because you're right, we're just talking copiers. It's not that difficult, which, you know, is good and bad. But if what's the phrase? Oh, where there's mystery, there's margin.
Yes, correct.
Ah.
And how about this one? You've heard this. It took more technology to make a color copier than to put somebody on the moon.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is. It is amazing that these things work at all. But
Well, okay, you got a lot of moving. I'm not even going to defend them. No, I was going to say you got a lot of moving parts. Remember, it's fire, electricity, and pressure. And oh man, it's the same old argument before. You know why IT hates copiers and printers because they're the closest to the customer, the end user.
yep,
They have more moving parts than anything else on the network.
yep.
Yep.
And they got a static electricity, a lot of heat, and pressure. So, and we don't know anything about it. So you add that all up. That's why IT hates them. But that's why when we could sell them in such quantities, that was a good reason why. Because you know, your end user didn't want to know about that. They just wanted to know that when they pushed the button, it came out,
Right.
whether it was walk up or from a copier. Now, there was some complication. It wasn't too sophisticated. But
And then all those printers, they started just having babies. All of a sudden, there was one printer, then there's 3 printers, then there's 10 printers.
I don't know I know how that started, because the printers would be connected to the parallel port. There was no networking, and emulation over was tough. So when any new employee came on board, you got a new computer and a new printer. You had to do that, right? And you just latched on and then sent your print jobs. If you wanted to send your print jobs up to a different printer, it was an act of God. You had to have an IT guy, and it was like it went through a VAX or a DPS or some sort of crazy funky Comedina thing. But if you wanted to print, boy, I remember even like purchase order. This is back a long time ago, but POs, requisitions. The only thing that we would print on the printer was like documents. I mean, Word Perfect docs or a spreadsheet. And then the spreadsheet thing was, oh, I need a bigger printer than this. Look how big my spreadsheet,
Yeah.
we need, because I'm using this Lotus 123 and it's a big, huge spreadsheet. I need that big. That's not, we didn't even know what it was called. Tabloid.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Like,
Tabloid. Yeah.
yeah. Because I got to show this to the boss. Oh, and it could do color. Oh, that's cool. Oh, and it could do graphs. I remember so anyway, taking a trip. The evolution of baby printers was because it was a personal, the P in PC stands for personal. Not CC, connected computer, it's PC. Everything was personal. So, and I think that mentality was still there. And then as things changed, we started connecting. But like I said earlier, I think it's all more marketing than it is tech hardware.
Right.
Right. Because if somebody wanted to, you could make a copier that you could dial up the speed no matter what.
Yep.
It would call for its own service. It would have legitimate, real life cycle times. You would know that if this drum is going to go on at 75,000, at 74,000, you're safe waiting until 74,000, and you're not going to overbuy because you're going to replace it at the time it says it's replaceable. But that just never happened.
Interesting.
Never
Earl,
happened.
have you been using ChatGPT or any AI in your sales yet?
Yeah.
No.
Emails,
Yeah. So like,
side by sides. Do you ever have to do any side by side presentations?
no,
Okay.
no. Our sales, to be honest, is pretty easy. By the time we get into an account, whether it's coming off of Google or through social media, it's almost like the selling's already been done. It's just really trying to find the right product out of the 100,000 products that we sell in our product line, because we make it so difficult, But no, it's, for us, it really hasn't, AI really hasn't come into play.
How
at
about
all.
prospecting at all?
Mm-mm.
Maybe, I mean, do you go to LinkedIn for everything, or, I mean, and the web? I mean, some people are actually, I try, well, I do it all the time. I use ChatGPT actually to find decision makers in a certain company. If I'm looking to track down a certain company, before I go to the web or before I go to LinkedIn, I'll go to ChatGPT.
Yeah. We drive the majority of our business through LinkedIn and Google Ads. I'm heavy into Google Ads. So let the customers, as soon as they hit our website, we're the only company that plays pricing right online.
Right.
And it makes it so easy for them. Because I try to, for me, I watch Tesla and I watch Verizon to see how they market to their clientele. And that's what I try to duplicate. Just like our industry should be watching companies like Tesla to find out how they manufacture or how they develop products. I think it's pretty cool how they do it. Like they take a Tesla 3 and they also use that body or that chassis, the undercarriage for like the X or the Y, whatever version it is, and same thing with the other larger car, and we should be doing the same thing, simplify the manufacturing, reduce the operating costs. I mean, there's so many things that our industry can learn, and we don't adapt. We talk about change, but as an industry, we never change. We've been talking about the same thing for the last 30 years, It's just weird. So, and
It
for,
is weird. What's weirder about it is it's still sustainable to
yeah,
me,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
If you heard any other industry say what you just said, they would be on the brink of being gone at least 2 or 3 times in the last 2 decades,
yeah, yeah.
right? It's weird.
How much better could we be? I mean, we could be, but you think about this, Art and John, like you guys go out and you sell a new customer, right? You sell a new customer, you bring home net new business. Why? Why did that customer make a switch to you? When everything clears out, why do they truly make a switch? Is it because their current device isn't providing what they're looking for as far as reliability,
That's
quality,
one.
right? And then maybe it's service. They're
That's two.
not as responsive, right?
Mhm.
But both of those come back down to the lack of craftsmanship to our products, because we have to have techs on the road all the time. And that's why, as a manufacturer, we're missing the boat for all these IT companies pushing A4 devices. It's not going to happen. Why would you want to get into our industry where something is so involved in maintaining a copier? That's just my opinion. And that's why a lot of manufacturers don't go into the IT sector. Copier companies are going into IT, but you don't see IT companies coming into the copier sectors because
Thank goodness.
our, require a lot of maintenance, a lot of babysitting, and a lot of hand holding, and a lot of manufacturers' time to figure out that we're the only dealership with these issues. It's crazy. And this is just my Friday, it's my normal Friday madness when issues come up, and I'm like, man, why is it like this? So,
Well, we're here for you, Earl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm just
James, this is your first time on the show. So we're going to go back to Ask Us Anything. Do you have any questions for all of us?
I don't think James is with us anymore.
I think he checked out.
I think he dropped off a little bit ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a shame we lost James. We just lost Greg too. What happened to Greg?
No, I'm still here. I'm still here.
He's pausing.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, James dropped off. That was
Yeah,
a
James
shame.
dropped off a while back.
Well, maybe he'll be on the next show for us.
Well, I mean, gee whiz, Earl, you're giving me deja vu like crazy. All these discussions, why IT doesn't go into copiers, why copiers didn't go into IT, why the copiers have been obsolete, why there's, service warranty. We haven't even talked about that. I mean, the nest of inequities, and I think one of the biggest frustration levels, though, Earl, that you're swinging in is like, why would IT get in? Why would anyone get into this? Because they're looking at things that, sure, there's problems, but they're solvable. They shouldn't be problems in the first place. So anyone who comes from a different industry, it could be, you make water heaters, you make air conditioning units, you make HVAC, whatever it is, big cranes, whatever you make, you've got a quality control issue that when you send a technician out, it really is something. Right? I mean, I don't think those big bulldozers are being made by Case and all these other guys to be obsolete at any given, right? I don't know. I could be wrong, but I know that, well, if you look at consumer-based, like refrigerators and ovens and stuff, those things do break. But then those are such commodities that they're cheap enough to replace every 3 to 5 years. I mean, just outright replace. But there is a certain design to it that, we're not going to invest a lot of cost in this thing to charge that much because it's disposable anyway. We're in the industry that's kind of weird like that, right?
Well, we do have a lot of A4s that are disposable.
And then you got the demand side is, everyone needs a refrigerator. I really don't see where that's going to end quite yet. Probably. I don't know. That's an interesting point. But the need for a printer at every desk I talked about before is gone. It is totally gone. We don't need a printer at every desk. Maybe you don't even need a copier on every floor. Who knows? That's so just an interesting dynamic in the industry, and gee whiz, Earl, I didn't mean to bring you down, that's for sure.
So back to that point though, Greg, okay, like in our industry, as you guys know, back in the day, everybody had a printer on the desk, right? So everybody was decentralized with their printing, copying, and then we come out with all these wonderful digital output devices. And now you don't have to have those printers, Mr. Customer. We can consolidate, make you more productive, reduce your overall expenses, all these great things, right? And then you frustrate everybody within the company because you took everybody's printer. But now from a sales side though, knowing what I know now, would I prefer selling one A3 or 20 A4 devices and capturing all the clicks from a marketing side? For me, as a rep, you go in and you walk past, 20 printers to get to the A3 device.
Right.
But those A3 devices are pushing or the A4 devices are pushing all the volume. So from a sales side, why don't we sell more desktop MFPs and capture all the print volume?
And one of the reasons that managed print still has a high CARG for the next 5 years. And supposedly one of the reasons why Xerox bought Lexmark for their MPS.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was quoted somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Lexmark was very big in the MPS world.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay, stage 1, maybe stage 2, but then we don't want to get into that. I can debate that. I would go nuts on MPS. But I can see, and I'm glad you said that. Yeah. So if you're walking by volume on little machines that you're not capturing anything. Yeah.
Whenever I see it, it's like, I want that volume.
I want that.
How do I get that volume?
Right.
MPS used to be the answer. And then boy, God, this wasn't that long. Well, maybe it was a long time ago when you go in and there was so much excess that throwing an MPS agreement was easy because, you could be printing 50,000, I don't know what it was, but there was so much excess and while you'd be reducing someone else's revenue. That was another trick too, right? Because if you go into a deal and somebody else has already got selling the toner transactionally, and you can put up an MPS contract that's going to save them 20, and this was really 30%, for real. Invoice to invoice, that was an easy deal. Now, that didn't last more than maybe 36, maybe 3 years before people got wise to it. But it was a great time to do it. And MPS was such an opportunity to move from copiers and printers to IT. It was there, but not many people went that way. But anyway, good to hear you say MPS as a high card, Art.
Yeah, the biggest struggle, I mean, I'm not a dealer owner, but I think Earl can attest to this, that the biggest issue with, going deep into MPS would be there's so many different manufacturers and models that can be in one company. It could be Dells, it could be Lexmarks, it could be HPs, it could be
Data Impacts. You can
right,
have those
and then
you can have all sorts of weird ass shit.
If you don't replace the fleet, right, then you've got to be able to service every single one of those devices if there is a mechanical failure or I mean a quality failure. Right,
Yeah.
right, Earl? That's tough to take on that type of nut.
Yes, it is.
I don't know. Earl, do you get much into the multi-vendor fleets management by any chance?
We're trying more and more just because I watch the print volumes on our print audit and I compare our A3s to our A4 device or just A4 devices in general. But the majority of what I see out there are HP printers,
Yeah.
But again, if that print volume is being pushed through their desktop printers, do you do a complete fleet refresh and try to put your devices in? And if so, what device is it? I mean, if you had to look at not just your products in general, but what is the best printer or a little desktop MFP out there in the marketplace right now? Is it HP? It's definitely not Lexmark to me.
Well, I don't know what you mean by that, but HP is the most accepted.
It depends on how you define best.
For me as a dealer, I'd want the one that's going to give me the lowest cost
Right.
of operation,
Right.
the biggest gambit of media that it could print onto, so I don't get into problems with the client because, oh, we did this on this machine and we did that, and your machine doesn't print or copy onto this media. And then the last one would be, and maybe the most important, would be serviceability.
Mhm.
You know, am I going to be able to get these parts? Am I going to be able to get tech support? Because all you need is that, 30 machines and have that one machine that's a dog and you can't figure it out. To me, the easiest thing is just go replace it.
Right. Yep.
From the client side, because I've worked with a lot of customers, believe it or not, right or wrong, it's name rec. And because we have IT especially, right? They're connecting all the printers. So if you come in with an MPS, and we're going to put on these Kaikoserias and these Konica Minolta, the IT guys have never heard of them. So
Right.
you're going to hang that on my network? No, I got HP sitting right next to me that I've had for 50, whatever it is, right? HP, and oh yeah, I've got HP servers, and oh yeah, I've got HP. I want HP printers. Period.
I've always had that. Yeah, when I tried to say, okay, well, we'll give you all Ricoh printers. Most of the times it didn't go like I planned it to.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it comes down to, from a manufacturing side, why are print drivers so freaking difficult?
Oh my God.
It's just another thing. It's like, gosh.
I mean, how many universal print drivers have we had? You should have one
Right?
universal print driver. There's like 12.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
universal to me.
It's like, good gosh.
Yep.
I love it. The complexity. I love it. And then, man, and then the moving target of they're all, the print volumes are going down, except for, if I got to print my kids' Cub Scout stuff on the weekend or whatever, baby shower invites.
Right. Hey, what are you drinking, Greg?
Wait.
That's a Coke, but I was just finishing up some Jim Beam. No, what was it? Oh, George Dickel. Good
Oh,
bourbon.
must be nice.
I haven't had it in a long time.
So let's talk about next week.
Well,
next week is the 10th, and we will have our show.
Well, now ECS is coming up, right? Isn't that
ECS is coming up, and that is from the 12th until the 15th. Okay. And I will be out at ECS in Phoenix.
Okay. And I mean, something that's personal, I guess you and I are. I've had, it's interesting you were asking Earl, but we've had a lot of interest on this LLM to help salespeople learn.
Yes.
Necessarily generate, emails and letters and stuff, but to help them,
get better in their sales process.
Yeah. And on a
save time.
It's interesting, Art. I've had more and more people from the sales trenches, salespeople, much like yourself, Art, come up and ask about how that works, how it could work for them beyond their corporate sales training, their Xerox sales, all that, which unfortunately I'm starting to hear is more bullshit than anything. But I remember those days too.
Right.
What was it? OSE was a 2-week learning at sales training class. 2 weeks. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And by the time I got back, we only retained 85%, but I don't think I retained half of it. It was back to here's your list, here's the phone.
Mm-hmm. And out at ECS, there is going to be a rather large handful of them. The coaches, let's put it that way.
I'll tell you what, and I don't want to, know we're at the end of the session, but the way I'm seeing things size up, there's going to be a day very, very soon when you're not going to want one of those guys. You're not going to need one of those guys. They've got chatbots that will talk to people on the phone. You don't even know it's a chatbot about service, right? That's a whole nother industry. But you bring that down to the education side, to the, I'm a new salesperson. It's not going to be like the days when you sat in and you watched a freaking, a PowerPoint and click the yes and take the quiz and keep moving and then listen to some guy talk for 6 or 8 hours that costs $12,000 or whatever.
Right.
No, it's going to be extremely personalized, and it's going to know everything from Gap to Sandler to strategic to all of it. It's going to be right there in your hand, and I don't think it's going to be that. It's not years away. It's happening right now. And so
Happening right now. Yep.
it's
I
weird.
agree.
I mean, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. Hey, Earl, if you ever need, any help, you need 30 minutes on how I use ChatGPT.
Yeah,
Forgot about that.
Be
we should
more
set
than,
something up.
Earl,
Yeah.
that's good because I mean, I know
oh,
we're at the
look
end,
who
but-
it is.
Oh,
This is
it's the
Murphy.
world famous dog.
Hello,
That's Murphy.
Murphy.
Come here, Ellie.
How's your
Ellie,
law going,
here,
Murphy? Who? Allie. Allie and
He's
Murphy?
up. Here's
Oh,
Ellie.
no.
Here's my girl.
Two.
Yeah, two.
Two.
They've been in here the whole time listening, but they're like, "Come on, let me
They're
go."
good dogs, Earl. Those are good dogs to sit there. That's
Yeah. Well, here's the secret. I just tell them to keep laying down.
all right. They're well trained. Pavlovian.
Yeah. So Earl, I know we talk a lot, but if you're ever looking to know
Yeah.
more about
Yeah,
how I use it,
yeah,
I use it every day.
that'd be cool. Yeah, let's do something next couple of weeks. I'd love to hear it.
All right.
Cool.
Sounds good. So with that, we've reached the witching hour on another Friday. And I want to thank Earl for tuning in. I want to thank John for tuning in. We always had a lot of fun with Greg, right? And then our newest person who hopped on today was James. And James, we thank you for tuning in. And hopefully you're going to be back next week. And we invite everybody to like, follow, share, and be with us next week.
Thanks, Earl. Thanks a lot, man.
All right, guys. See you, Greg. See you, Art.
Yep.
Be good.
All right.
Thanks, Earl.